Dear Lord, Wesleyan Holiness Church invites you and welcomes you. We're happy that you could have joined us this afternoon via social media, and we say to all our fans on YouTube, welcome. At this time, we listen to an audio titled, Didn't I Walk on Water? Performed by Joseph Larson and extracted from YouTube.
It's out in front of me. I'm afraid I won't be able, and I'll go down to the But you said, do you remember just where I crossed the forest? Won't you take the look behind me? See how far you are. Every time you ask me, did I hear you? So why will you be thinking that I wouldn't see you? I walk on the water, and I'm on the raging sea. So to the wind, and the sea. Did I run to your rescue? Did I hear where you call? I walk right beside you. Did I leave all the way just to die for your sin? Searched until I found you, and I knew it all again. As she's talking to her father in a house that was once a home, she said, my bills all come due, Lord. It's not that long. And she hears a voice so still, said, I've moved like that before, and I'll do this little thing down, and I'll give you so much more. And I walk on the water, and I call the raging sea. I spoke to the wind, and it was didn't I walk to the rescue? Didn't I hear you when you called? I walked right beside you, so you couldn't fall. Didn't I leave all the way just to die for his good? Search until I found you, and I knew it all. I walked on the water, and I calmed the raging sea. I spoke to the wind, and it was in Hades. Didn't I run to the rescue? Didn't I hear you when you called? I walked right beside you, so you couldn't fall. Didn't I leave all the way? So I was searched until I found you, and I knew it all again.
Joseph Larson, Did I Walk on the Water? And this time we have Sister Danielle Waters, she'll be performing a poem by Maya Angelou, Yet Still I Rise.
You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Are you the sexless bloom? Because I walk like I've got oils pumping in my living room, just like moons and like suns, with certainty of time, just like hope springing high. Still, I rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness upset you? Do you take it awful hard that I laugh like I've got diamonds digging in my backyard? Out of the hot of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide, leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise.
Is the poem I Write by Maya Angelou. We are grateful to God because of his goodness. Today, you may feel messed up, but do not give up. God is going to show up. God wants to break yokes and set captives free. Sometimes, when we are not hearing from God, it is because he wants to see what we're doing in the situation. Why are you cast down and nailing yourself to the cross that Jesus has already risen from? Let's ask God this morning or this afternoon to increase our territory. God has blessed us with a vessel today, one that God has shaped for no other reason but to be a blessing. God has given her a voice to speak strength in our lives. Allow me to introduce Sister Loretta Graham. And this afternoon we pause as we listen to her Cinderella story. It's the Loretta Graham story.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's wonderful to be in the presence of the Lord with God's people. And surely we know that His presence is here. I'm glad to be able to stand before you this afternoon and say, God has been faithful. I want to even greet those out there watching on YouTube. Some of you have been waiting to hear my story, even before it was asked of me, because there's Dr. Colin Brown over there in Florida, and his wife, Dr. Stacy Ann Brown. She grew up with us for a while, and her husband wants to know my story, but I think he's on today. And so, along with others, may you get something from this story. I'm not here to tell you that life is easy. It wasn't easy for me, but God has been faithful. So I greet you all today in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. And I was looking at what I was going to be sharing, the story of my life. I find myself identifying with a song done by the Gators local band on YouTube. And I'm going to do just a verse of it because I identify with it so very well. If you could see what I once was, if you could go with me back to where I started from, then I know you would see a miracle of love that between its sweet embrace and made me what I am today, a sinner saved by grace. I'm just a sinner saved by grace. When I stood condemned to death, He took my place. Now I live and breathe in freedom. With each breath of life I take, loved and forgiven. Back with the living, I'm just a sinner, saved by grace. Just a sinner saved by grace. The journey of my life, it began in the humble district of Chigwell, Hanover, born to humble parents, very poor, but we were loved. I was the third of 10 children, the first girl in the family. I was loved and pampered, especially by my dad. One thing, we grew up in the church. We had to go to church. We had to go to Sunday school. And when we got home, we had to tell what we learned. My grandfather would sit in a rocking chair. He did not go to church, but every Sunday afternoon, he gathered us around and we had to recite our golden text. That became possible when the house we were living in, which was a rented house, got so holy. I mean, Holey, that you could see stars when rain fell. You had to roll up the bed and sit in the corner. The landlord wouldn't repair it, and so we went back to the family house where my grandmother and grandfather lived, called Brown Corner. Some of you know it, where we went to funeral not long ago. We had to go to church. And I remember years upon years when each of us received a little token, something that could be framed and put on the wall, never absent, never late for Sunday school. Years. And the one I remember most was a red letter Bible given to me when I was 6 years old. Reverend David Moore, those Americans those days used to come. And I think if I search in my library, I should have that, the relic of that Bible, older than torn. But when I was 6 years old, I received it. My mother told me that nobody taught me to read. I don't understand. But when I was in what they call Tupper Week school, you would call it basic school now, Tupper Week. Pastor shaking his head like he knows it. And you know, we were married before he was born. So he got something from some old folks. Yeah. And so I was told that I used to help Teacher Dent to teach while I was in Tupper Week school. That was the money that was paid for us to go to school. And I was so brilliant, I used to help her teach. I was told that she was because she had an accident and she had a little home back like this. So she was very short, but a very good teacher. She asked them to take me at Gurney's Mount Elementary School then, when I was 6 years old, because then it was 7 years old to go to elementary school. However, they took me, but they said they could not enroll me because I had not reached the age. But to add to that, I ended up in the same class with my brother, 2 years my senior, and he wasn't pleased at all because he used to come first in the class, and when I got there, I took first place. He had to settle for second place. And then I moved on to what they call first book. Never name like now, first book, second book, third book, and that was how it was classified. And there I had a teacher who fell in love with me. The journey continues. A change was coming. I wasn't dear to her. She would send me a mile down at lunchtime for her lunch, going from Gurney's Mount to Cold Spring to fetch her lunch. But to me, it was a pleasure running. Then we would have long lunch time. And then I would get some milk and something, which was good for me. Maybe some things I didn't have at home. And so it went on, and she always said, oh, if I had your brain, there's nothing I couldn't achieve. But one day she gave me a note to my mother. Then my sister had just started elementary school because I'm 2 years her senior. And I took the note home. And what did it read? Mrs. Binns, I'm getting a transfer, whether it was optional or not. And I'm going to Westmoreland to teach, and I would like to take Loretta with me. When my mother said that, I was filled with shock and with delight. Shock in that I would have to leave my brothers, my one sister, and my parents, with whom I'd lived for 9 years. I was 9 years then. However, the decision was made, and one day a truck came up, loaded with things. And I sat in the back of that truck on my way to Westmoreland into a journey that would end up where I am today. I can't tell you, I cried. I don't remember the emotion, but I found myself at a place called Long Hill, a few miles out of White House. Then I attended the King's Elementary School. Life took on new meaning. Life took on new responsibilities. As a little child, I had to take on serious housework, scrubbing the pots, scrubbing the floor with coconut brush, dye, what. It was not easy. I had to travel to White House with ladies who went to buy fish before day to get fish for the family. Maybe there were other children in the family, boys too. I remember one day I went to White House before day with a lady named Miss Bai to get fish. And when we got to White House, fisherman said there was no fish, but they're sure we could get fish over by Cove. That's where now we have that place where people sell bami and fish, and you know, they run you down to get to your vehicle. And so he said, they called him and then chicken. He said, I can take you in the boat over to Cove, but that's White House, and he would row across. By then day was breaking. And I don't know why, but I saw monsters down in the water. And I was scared. And he said, don't look down in the water. However, we got to Cove and we got fish. But then the journey back to Long Hill. Those days it was the broken stones, barefooted. But you had to do it. And my pause to tell you that for all these years, sometimes myself and my husband, we talk because he has a story too, and I have a story. And so it was so bad. I got the kind of treatment that Cinderella's lived in. That was when I learned what was named a cot. You fold it, it had canvas, you fold it, you sleep in it, and you get up in the morning and you just fold it back. No sheet. And you had to wait till everybody had gone in because you had to hold it out in the living room. And so life was terrible. It was terrible. And you know something? I'm not saying all of this to say that I'm regretting, because there's so much I've learned in these schools. I've learned that which has prepared me for this life. And I can tell you, nobody can twist me around their fingers because I know how to work. And I know how to be satisfied with little and not to complain when things are not going the way I would want it to go. And so we were there. I had to go up 1.5 miles for the ladies' lunch. A lady named Miss Taylor and take it down. Those were the days when they had a little straw baskets. And up to now, I can remember the smell, even when the basket was empty. After taking food in it for some time, there's a little smell, and it's vivid to me. But I carried on. Then my guardian decided she was going off for 1 year study. And so I was left with a principal, his wife, and 2 children at King's. Things got a little better because they had helpers. I didn't have to do some of the things I had to do then. But where I was living was like a little back room. Had to climb up to get into it. And what I remember most of that situation that I didn't like was that there were some people who owned lands and did farming in Petersville, way up the hill. I don't know if Pastor knows that way. like you go in church of God, but you go up the hill. Remember now there was a farmer named and a butcher named Mr. Charles McDonald, and they would leave early morning to go up there. They had a lot of breadfruit trees, but on occasion Loretta would have to walk with them. They would go to work, so they would pick breadfruit, and they would load it in a bag, and I would have to take nearly 3 miles walk back down alone to take the breadfruit to the family. So there was a good part, but there was that part I didn't like. Another part I didn't enjoy was that they had a hillman beings then, that new family. They would go out often, but I would be left alone. And when it got to night, I got so scared in the house, I was foolish maybe. So I got out of the house, and there was a house and a little rising there. There was a teacher's cottage there, my little back room there. And I would get out of the house and stand in the middle between the two houses, afraid to stay in the house alone. But then I would hear people talk about cemetery nearby and Duffy, and so I was scared, but I was no safer on the outside. I look back now and say I was foolish. And when I heard the minks coming because it had to come up the hill, then I would run back in. I remember on one occasion they went to visit their relatives in St. Elizabeth, and I had to sit in that car. That was the one time I went up with them. I didn't even know where the family house was. They parked it there, and I went down a little track to the house. And I had to stay there until they visited and ate and did what they had to do, and come back to me sitting in that car. I can't tell you what that house looked like. Never went near. I couldn't eat at anybody's table. There was that little box in the corner. And that's where I had my meal. But the 1 year was over, and I went back to the original. The responsibilities multiplied. But one thing I can tell you, I was never stopped from school, and I made use of my school days. And I've said before, sometimes I had to clean the floor, the book open there, and I would read something, and I would shine, and I would do all of that, keeping abreast with what I was taught. Then I didn't think it as anything, because I thought that I'm living with teacher, it's a better life. So I continued. I never found, I wasn't kept in touch with my parents, except in some holidays. I would take the Blue Danube or the Morning Star and go for maybe a day or two. That was my lot. And so I went back to the old time. But guess what, this time I changed. She was no longer staying at King's, but moving to Little London Elementary School. Another moving day came, and I came to Little London. Those were the days. Water was scarce. And this woman, then the girl with the cursing tin, would have to listen when the tugboat people were going wherever they heard water was running to get water for the family. Well, come morning, they needed water, and I had to get it. I remember carrying water from as far as Mr. Wagstaff's place, just across from where Bina lives, up to where we were then living, where the current Jehovah's Witnesses church now stands. Had to make trips to carry water. When I carried it, I would hear from the boss, Loretta, check my boat. So I would have to go for the water, everybody, and I would have to pour it and set his glass. It was difficult. It was then I took my second Jamaica local, because while I was at King's, while the other lady was on the yesterday, I took the first Jamaica local, had to go to Black River the center, and I passed it. I took the second Jamaica local, still cleaning and looking in the book and holding my head high. Not complaining, because I thought this was my lot, so there was nothing I could do. Not now when you could call him to and say, Mommy, this, that, nothing like that. And I remember the lady's sister was the postmistress, and on Friday the Gazette would come. And so we heard that Friday afternoon, the mail van would pass with the Gazette that would have the results for the second Jamaica local examination. And so I was cleaning. I remember now, although the house is broke down and a church is there, I remember where I was cleaning the floor. And I jumped up and I said, mail van, Gazette come, exam result come. And I heard a voice, Loretta, go back and do what you're doing. I went back humbly, but then, by then the lady was down by one, Mrs. McCain, near to where we have Mrs. that Chinese shop now, Miss Chin. And I saw somebody running and say, Loretta, Miss so-and-so said to come there. No. Boy, I'm glad I got up and washed my feet. And when I went there, she was standing with her strap. Those teachers used to have the strap, you know. And as I stepped up, she said, I want to beat you, Loretta. As vivid as ever. I said, for what? She said, I'm going to beat you. After you took the examination, and you are the only one whose name is in the Gazette. I was overjoyed. I was glad. It wasn't easy. Oh, the gentleman said to me the day after, Lord, can you tell your mother so you pass your exam? I had no way to tell her. But people in Chigwell who knew my name and had their Gazette because then comes suspense. His daughter was a teacher, they told my mother. When I got to 16 plus, but before I got there, at that spot, I used to go home from school. When the old oil stove burn up and blaze up and the burner burn out, I had to go look the mango wood in the cane field next door to cook the food. Mango wood gives a lot of smoke and it takes so long for a meal to be cooked, but I did it. And at night when everybody was in, with a torch lamp, they would have what they call a wash time. I would be out there alone washing the dishes. We never went to church, although I was church oriented before I left home. They were close brethren, and so on Sunday morning they would have devotion, and that was church. But at night when I got a chance, I would hurry down to the Church of God, the New Testament Church of God, and get the service because I was used to going to church. Sunday was out because I had to be cooking and doing this and doing that. And so something happened and they needed help at the post office. The attendant to clean out the place, and I was sent down there. A little liberty. There was a little room at the back of the post office going down, and I had a little room. That was where I stayed. Then a turning point was coming. But before that, you know what my responsibility too? If night came and a telegram came for short distance, I would have to take the telegram. And those days, telegrams came for one of two reasons: farm worker or dead. One night, I was called out of bed. There was a telegram to go up Wesleyan Hill. That time it was Wesleyan Hill. There was a hill where the Methodist church is now. And I heard that a dead body was on the way, coming in truck, they're singing home once more, home once more. The prodigal returned to his home once more. And I was afraid, and I ran and I delivered the telegram and ran back home because I didn't want the body to pass me on the road. On August 1, 1960, Emancipation Day, then you would have independence because that was 1960. I went to Negril on a truck, just big truck, and we go on the truck with the board seats. And there I met Mr. Cleveland Graham. There was something like the boy's animal story of the kinsman. Because then there was a young man who was interested in me. I think they have to be cousins too, but it was not somebody I met often. And so I knew he was interested in me. And so when he approached me, I said, well, so and so, say so and so. I haven't seen him for months or for a long time, but you can check. And he did. And the guy said, it's all right. Boys and the kids in here are king's man. And that was our first date. August 1, 1960. You can check your math, that's how long. And I was then 17 years and 3 months old. I became his child, his baby. He was 7 years my senior, still is. And life took on a little change. There was a lot of opposition. Many things were said. Because then it got out to, although I was in the house up there, it got to that this was that and that was that. Some people said, no, you can like that. The man, they used to work a in peace. Some said, what you think you can do for her? And one woman, I don't know what wisdom was in it, she said, you gotta make me spoil up your clean, pretty skin. That was one of the ones who could be my guardian said. However, we continued through thick and thin. I left there. Same lady said there's a friend of hers who lives up Hopewell going Orange Hill. She needs some help. I'm going to ask you to go. So I went up there. But like Hosea, not to buy me back, he follow me anywhere I go. Anywhere. He would ride his bicycle when he got his day off, push it up the hill going up, still visit me. We kept in touch. And the time came when the first guardian said, I need your help. This time it took me to Lamar, Lewis Street. The house is still there, but my dwelling was a butchery. There was the Dover stove that you put within, and then the butchery. And some of you would know the suit, the black. So you see, when night come and it's wet, all your clothes and your bed sheet, everything black out. That was where I was living. It was 1962 in the early part of the year. And we were still friends. You would pass by. And one day I went to buy coal in a little bucket from a man named Mr. Coates, little further on Lewis Street. Barefooted I was then over 17 years old. And who should ride up? And he said, why you do pass street barefooted? But you had one pair of shoes. Only to go out. He said, why you do? Told him I'm a friend, them pussy and I say you're my girlfriend. Walk barefooted. And he said to me, tell the lady I want to talk to her. But then before that, it was Independence Day, 1962, when I was left there cooking and cleaning. They had 2 boarders then from St. Elizabeth. And I was back home there doing all the cooking and the cleaning and I watching and ironing. I didn't get to go out and see what was happening. Independence Day. They came home with some little metal cups with the date and so on it, and I had nothing. So when it came and I got a chance when I came, I walked out the street to see what's happening. Only dog them out, everything done and gone. So one day, he was coming from work riding his bicycle. And he said, tell the lady, me come to talk to her. I don't know what transpired. But he came out and he said to me, Laura, you owe anybody any money? And I said, no. And he said, I'm going to send a car for you, pack up your things. I talked to the lady. And there was a friend of his from League, and he had a Volkswagen there. And he sent him. But then I had met his parents and his sisters before. But when I got a Sunday off, they would allow me. Sometimes I put it on them mix. I had a slave gone. I would visit them so they knew me. So he sent for the car and he took me. He took me home. I became as a member of the family. We had one child in 1963. And then he said, I don't want a baby making machine. You have potential. I'm going to send you back to school. We had about 3 children who were married in 1964 on the 18th of November. You check that, November count will be 57 years. And I give God thanks for this man. And I tell him, I don't know if I'm wrong. I say, I beg God not to let me die before you, die before you. Because I wouldn't want to know that anybody disadvantages you. God, you have done so much in my life as God led you. We got married. I had 3 children, Marcia, Carly, Mitzi. Then by then I take the Jamaica school certificate. And again, I was the only one out of the group that passed all the subjects. And so he said, you're going off to college. But he said, with 3 little children, 3, the last one I wasn't there yet. He said, yes, it's going to take sacrifice, but I will come home and take care of them in the evening. And then we used to have helpers in the day. It was a sacrifice, 3 little girls. He was not a Christian, but he would come home, and when he did get home early, one of his brothers, Lyle, would hold the fort until he got home. They called him Dada Lyle. You have to pray for him too. He's in our prayers every day, because he's taken a stand where he seems not to believe in the God that he served when he was a little boy here. And so I went to Michael Teachers College. He said, I'm not sending you to anyone there. I want you to go to the best. You're going to Michael. I went to the Michael in the 60s. And it was a challenge. And it would appear that every time I came home and was to leave for the weekend, one of the children got sick, either running belly or something. So I would leave with pain in my heart. However, it went on until in the 2nd year, I had a nervous breakdown in college. He hired a car and he came. I was living then in Forest Hills. For the married women, lived in private homes. He took a car, hired a car and came for me and took me home. And he took me to the doctor, yes, but he made my tonic. And he would make it and leave it where I could get it until I was nursed back to health. And people would ask me from then until now, does bother you again? No. God, who is faithful, heal this body. That's why I got to serve him. And the longer I serve him, the sweeter he grows. I beg my husband, don't miss heaven. Then it was not smooth because he was a girl's man still, had his girlfriend before me, those in better positions, better background, but he stuck to me. And I can tell you, he never cursed me and he never hit me. It's 61 years since our relationship started, August 1 gone. Never hit me, never cursed me. He never even told his parents or anybody where he took me from. We are talking now and some will be hearing for the first time. And again, I say, Lord, spare my life to take care of him if he should get sick. Because it means so much to me. Then I came home. I went back. Let me tell you how my God is good. After 3 months out with a nervous breakdown, I went back and my colleagues were saying, we're sorry for you have to burn the midnight oil. But I couldn't because I was still recuperating. I couldn't sit up to study. But God would so have it that a lady whose husband lived in England came out and he said, her, I'm taking you back to England with me. And God would have it that she left her a folder with all her notes. And I took that, and when I could, I went through. And would you understand that at the end of the year, when we did final exams and people were sorry for me, I passed every subject. Others who were showing self-pity on me had to go back in the summer to redo some subjects. My God is faithful. I did internship at the St. Paul's Elementary School, or primary school then. And after that, I moved on to Unity Primary, where I spent 33 years and 8 months. Rose to the position of senior teacher 3. The responsibility got very rough. I was expected to do so much. The computer lab came and I was the only computer literate one then. Didn't know much, still don't, but enough to be in charge of the lab. I was responsible to supervise the grade 2s, marks, cleans, and you name it, collect material. Then I was driving from 71. And it was heavy. Then my grandson Kyle came home, the one whose mother died. And sometimes I would come home and I would try to help him. He was going to Paradise Prep then, and he would say, Grandma, you're sleeping. So tired I was. And so I said to my husband and my family, I'm not 60, I'm 59, but I'm going to retire. And I wrote a letter. And the principal didn't want to accept it. And she called the education officer, Mrs. McIntosh, and they were asking me, Mrs. Graham, where you going? And your principal had come just 1 year and they said, you're one of the right teachers here. You can't go. Where you going? I said, I'm going home. I said, it's final. I've discussed it with my family. And so I retired at 59, came home. Now this man never gone to bed hungry. Never. He made sure we were all right. All when they hanky-panky outside here and all about drinking, and maybe that's why I put up with so much from him, because he means so much to me. Drink with him, friends come in, vomit up, and me and the young baby, they may have to clean up. But we respected him. Stacy and now Dr. Brown in Florida with her husband, Dr. Colin Brown. She lived with me from she was about 6, 7. And she gives praise to us all the while. We took her as a part of the family. She had her struggles too. But today she's a medical doctor in Florida. It was not over. My husband said at a point when I was at Unity, we could go and do the diploma in education. And so I applied to Bethlehem Moravian College and I spent a year there doing my diploma in education, graduated with distinction at 55. When I was there, they recognized me. They say, "Ah, your pastor's wife." I used to do devotion, validate when they validate the service. They say, "We want somebody like you to read the lesson." And even when one Mr. Garwood, he taught literature when he was going away, his mother died. He came from Guyana, I think. He left the book with me and I did the classes. Classroom and testing measurement teacher, forget her name now. She was going off and I was the one in charge of the class. Students would come to me even after they had resumed and say, "Come help me learn more in your class than I learned in the teacher's class." So everywhere I went, I found the favor of God. I look back at Jeremiah 29:11, which says, "I know the plans I have for you, plans to give you hope and a future." It was the Monday of Heroes Week in 2067. I got a call from the Little London Primary School. They're having Heroes Day celebration. They're asking me to be there. They presented me a plaque in the field of education, religion, and community service. 2016 Heroes Day, I think Monique was there and some others from here. I walked up on that decorated platform and received my certificate, sitting with some Tapanaris people, right in San Lamar, the same place where I walked barefooted years ago. God, I have them hanging in my house and so many others. God has been faithful. What am I saying to you today? Wherever God leads, be willing to follow. Every day is a new beginning. God woke us up for a reason. Trust His plan. His timing is perfect. He will make a way. I have another quote I would like to read for you, as they mean so much to me. And there was one part I forgot to tell you now. I just saw it here, where one night at 12 o'clock I was on the road, me one. Why can't me not know when I was trying to walk up there? I want to drive up. I'm afraid. A young man came, but I was right by near where the old primary school is, and he said, "Girl, what you doing on the road this time of night? You don't have no parents? If you have parents, they don't love you." That time I didn't have an idea what time it was. Why I was alone, I don't know. But he said, "Don't you do it, it's not safe." Then he said he was one mason from driving a bus. And I told him I was going up the road. So this journey, what am I saying to you? Trust God. Don't give up. Don't give in. God has blessed me with a family. And when I sing, "Thank you, Lord, for your blessings on me," I have a fine family. Our first daughter, Marcia, a medical doctor, MOH for Westmoreland. The second one was Carlin Graham Daly. She died at age 27. She too was a medical doctor. Mitzi Graham Morris, the mother of those 3 children you see down there. She's the academic dean at Jamaica College. The fourth one, that's the baby. When I went back to college after that breakdown, I went back pregnant. So that's the baby. Was supposed to be a boy, but she acts everything like a boy. She's in the field of hydrogeology. She's the project manager at a firm in Canada right now. She's now a Canadian citizen. God has blessed me. She got scholarship, the last one, Holland, to do her master's in water and whatever. Marcia also has got scholarship. My granddaughter down there, she took the, what you call it, was it then? She got the Jack Smith Scholarship, which takes care of her every year. Michael there got a scholarship as well. God has been good. And why I'm so proud of them, every one of them is a Christian sitting down there before you. Members of the Papine Wesley and Holiness Church. Involved in ministry. Sometimes Mikhail, this one there stand for the Mikhail. He did 60 last year, turned around, and he took 9 subjects and got 9 ones. He just finished lower 6th. There's Daniel, the last one. He's at Woolman's Boys, going to what form? 4th form. There's Kalila Morris. Stand up for me, Kalila. She looks tall, but she's the one who got that scholarship that pays her so much per year. The girl with the highest grade in Jamaica that year when she took the common. It was common entrance, no. It was GSAT. She plays lawn tennis and she's doing very well. She don't hear what a tie up after take her to swept away to get treated at that tournament coming. She can't get rusty. She plays sometime at the Papine. She does music. She does external music. She has finished up to 4th grade successfully. English exams in music. All of them do music, but she's doing it to a higher level. Isn't it a good God? Isn't he a faithful God? And I'm here, I've already celebrated my 78th birthday. And I can do whatever God wants me to do for myself and for others. People are still driving to Montego Bay. I haven't driven to Kingston for a while. But I drive to Montego Bay on the while and it's no problem. And I'm keeping well so far. I broke this finger the 8th of June. And it's healed. I'm using it. The hospital gave me to the 16th of August for the first therapy. But you know, I'm doing therapy myself and using it again. Praise the Lord. They say, old boy, no mend, but thank God. I'm saying over and over and over again, God is faithful. I wrote down some nuggets and I would not end my story without giving you some nuggets I have here. I'm saying that you must pay attention to your family, or when you're poor. Shower them with love. Don't let anybody love them more than you love them. Because it will be perpetuated. Leave a legacy for your children. Leave a legacy, you might not have it in money, but leave it in relationships. And one saying here says, learn from water. Adjust yourself in this situation, in any shape. Students of science, you know that water takes the shape of any container you pour it into. But most importantly, find your own way to flow. Some people will criticize, they will do this, but once you're following God, you will be successful. Another thought, never regret anything in life. If it's good, it's wonderful. If it's bad, it's experience. Many of the bad things that happen to us, it becomes experience for us. It's all a part of the journey. The bend in the road does not say it's the end of the road unless you fail to take the turn. Under God, when you come to your bend, go on it, and you'll find that something better is ahead. The hidden path is off the path that is best. You're holding on to some grudges, holding on to some things that people did you. Don't hold a pick in your heart. I could have. You feel broken? There's good out of broken things. Broken clouds bring rain. Broken soil yields crops. Broken seeds, new plants. God can utilize our brokenness for something great. In the journey of life, we encounter pleasure and pain, sunshine and rain, but we must learn to smile again and again. Forgive people. And suppose I tell you what happened. Was it about 3 or 4 years ago? The first guardian. We still stayed in touch, and I didn't take it as anything. God gave me a heart that's clean. And she informed me that somebody for her had died in new roads. And if I could come, I should. Myself and my husband. Always support him, so part of when anybody has me do anything, I'm gone to, He doesn't leave me. Somebody tell him I can't let go the fractine. Sometimes he says to me, I don't know is what. What I chat with you, so what? He said to me last week, in those days when me and me also have an little talking, and maybe you put your head on my bed foot. When you wake up, me down there with you too. And if you go to my next room when you wake up, there, that's the kind of way. This is over there. Only 5 years. We have wake up and we don't have struggle. We over there, make nice and I'm worried. Not always smooth, but let love cover it all. And so he said, let us go, Laura, and we went. It was about 3 years ago. After the funeral, she come to me and she said, may I go home with you, Can I come home with you? Right now she's living abroad. I'm going home with you. You see her first one. I said, okay. And she came home. And him put himself through extra to take care of it. Take of her. And she said, when we did want to come, we can't be there and why you go? She had come now with her solar heated water and find her. The same girl, the same Cinderella, And my husband took care, and then she said, one of my sons, he was a principal here, but he's living abroad. He's in Kingston, can he come down and join me? Because we have something with boys, something at Mannings. Can he come and join? We said, yes, so we gave her a room. We gave her my master bedroom with our bathroom. We gave him the middle room with that. And we still have any money. We think we were going to inconvenience you. And now we still have a room, still have 2 more rooms. And they said, you treated us royal. When she got back home to Florida, she said, when I told my daughters the treatment we got them jealous. That is the heart God gave us. And when my parents came into the picture, when this man come and said, may I take her because I don't like what I see her about through. They said, my mother come down. My father, at that time, all of me go through. And he told my mother, I can't do anything right now, but I'll do what I can. And he came home from work not long after one day. I said, Laura, me and my friend them were talking, and they said, since you love her, why not just marry her? And right there in planned their wedding, 1964. And I give God thanks for my family. And you know what I'm remembering? I sat down and stepped away in a secluded area. I was waiting on Kalila doing tennis training, and I sat there and I was reflecting and jotting down some things. For the first time, I cried. I was sitting under that tree and jotting down my life story. And for the first time, I cried. This is what God did not cry of despair, but a cry of joy. Because God has been so good. And I was saying, you know what has kept me these years possibly? When I left home, the people in the church I left, I believe they prayed for me. And I'm saying, pray for those you need to pray for. You never know how God can answer your prayer. I say, all my life, God has been faithful. All my life, He's been so good. So you see this girl, Some people see the glory of such a driving car to that he saved upon our 50th wedding anniversary. He gave me that car new brand for my wedding anniversary present. 50 years, and he's been saving some years and himself to give you as a gift on our 50th wedding anniversary. Isn't God good? I will sing, I will tell, I will shout. And one person said, you see the glory, you don't know this story. So let me tell you today the story of my life. It's been a journey, but God has. If you are struggling, if you think life has thrown you limes or lemons make lemonade, it's not over until it's over. Though I fall, I shall rise. Serve your God. Stay with him. You can trust him. Young people, God is able to keep you, especially those of you who have committed your life to the Lord. Those of you here, some of you are Christians. I wasn't a Christian when these choices were made, but God was in it. Stay with God, those of you are in God. And if you're out of him, find your place close to him. Don't just say things now go on to me, everything rough. There's a way, but you must be determined. Make the best use of every opportunity. And some of you sitting before me, I don't need to go back at school. Go back at school, go learn something. Not too old. When I was 55, I was just going to do my diploma in education. Not too old. Get up, brush off yourself. Face the challenges with God. And I'm saying to you today, never let your faith in God go under. He will keep you. Talk to your young people. Some of them pop sick putting on English, but talk to them. It's been a long journey, but I look back and I say, I can't claim anything. It's just God. God's hand in my life. And people look at me now on Instagram, they have served on school boards and Mannings and PTA executive and my children are there. I've served the district board of administration, 2 different superintendents, and I'm back on it now. I serve on the executive of the Wesleyan Women Executive. I serve here, I serve there, and I serve there. I have visited 8 Caribbean countries on Wesleyan Women business. And God is still helping me. Don't give up. Don't give in, because God is faithful. All my life you have been faithful. That is that. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love you, Lord, for your mercy never fail me. All my days have been held in your hand. Let me, from the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been, can you agree with me? All my life you have been so everything. When the light went out, I surrendered. I give you everything. Your goodness is running out, it's running out. Your goodness is running out. All my life, you have been. I can testify of the fact. Raise your hand if you can testify of the goodness of God.
The song says, your goodness is running after. It's running after me. Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splinters and boards torn up and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time, I've been a climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark where there's no light. So boy, don't you dare turn back. Don't you step down on the steps, 'cause you find it's kinda hard. Don't you fall now, for I'll still going. I'll still climbing, as life for me ain't been no crystal stair. We put your hands together for the Loretta Graham story. We invite her grandson, Mikhail Morris, at this time.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to talk about how my grandmother's sister has impacted my life. I know that she's a very God-fearing woman, and she's always ensuring that as much as I have different aspects to my life, she's always ensuring that I trust the Lord in each and every aspect of my life. She's always encouraging me whenever I have difficulties. She, even though I'm in St. Andrew and she's in Westmoreland, she'll always call us in St. Andrew and check up on us and ensure everything is all right. And she'll always send up stuff from Westmoreland as they have a farm and those things. And anything we need, we know that they will send them up for us. And she is always willing to go the extra mile for us. And she's always caring and all these things for us. I know that she has grown up from humble beginnings, and as such, she and my grandfather have worked very hard, like to ensure that we can have a good chance of having a good life. And I really do appreciate that from not just her, but my grandfather. And I have to give God thanks for that. She has really instilled values in us, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate all the memories we've had throughout the years. And I just want to give God thanks for all that she has done for not just me, but all my siblings and my parents as well. So that's what I have to say about how my grandmother has impacted me.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, just something I got from your story is that you kept your head high even while being overworked and struggling with your studies from a very early age. And God honored your hard work and your humility, and He helped you by giving you grandpa, and his family took you in and believed in you. And God healed you and helped you to complete college, despite having three kids and a family at home that you're away from and even being pregnant. God continued to help you through your hardships and led you to greater things, and that's very encouraging to me. So on behalf of the family, thank you for being a great grandmother, mother-in-law, etc., for looking out for us, ready to provide wherever you can, always encouraging us in the Lord to stay close to Him, to read our word, to pray, and to keep growing in Him, and lifting us individually and collectively as a family in your prayers daily. I know that you pray for us every day, showing us with your lives the difference that God can make in your kindness and your patience and your genuineness. And you want to show your appreciation with a small token and our kids know you love flowers. So I hope you enjoyed this.
Very much. Thank you all. Appreciate it a lot.
That was Kalida Morris, granddaughter of Sister Graham. You might notice an image on the easel. The title is Keeping Pure in an Impure World. Our youth department entered the Wesleyan Youth Extravaganza some years ago. We were given the task, under the leadership of Dr. Brown, to create a poster. And the poster we created is the one depicted on the screen. The young woman was on earth in the middle of turmoil, sex, drugs, incest, crime, domestic abuse, teenage pregnancy, peer pressure, pollution, the list goes on. Where you might notice the arrows are breaking up when they try to attack at that woman, because she did two things. She prayed and she worshiped her God. This image to us as a youth department represents Sister Loretta Graham. And it is great pleasure that we're going to present to her this frame as a token of our appreciation.
On behalf of the youth department, we thank you for your vision, inspiration, and touch upon our lives. Your presentation today has and will impact many lives. Please accept this gift as a symbol of our love and appreciation.
And finally, this image says to us to stay alive and read the scriptures, pray, fast, and share my faith. This again, our youth department entered our Westland Youth Extravaganza, and again we were first. And this image we have kept for years under again the leadership of Dr. Graham, and we invite her to come and receive this as a token of our appreciation. So Dr. Graham, on behalf of our Westland Youth Department here at the Road, it's with great joy that we present to you this photograph that was designed under your leadership. We know that you're still climbing, you're still advancing, and we know, I always say she's so meticulous, methodical, articulate and conscientious. And I say you truly epitomize your mother, our Cinderella. And it is with great joy that we present this to you as you keep advancing in the kingdom. God bless you.
Thank you very much. And I must say that this is totally unexpected, because all I do is for the glory of God. All that I am or ever hope to be, I owe it all to him. And I ask that you continue to pray for me, because my aim, my destination is to make it through to heaven. And I want all of you to be there with me. God bless you. Thank you.
We at this time bring the Loretta Graham story to a close. And we thank all those persons who joined us on YouTube, on Facebook, and who joined us today during worship. On behalf of our pastor, Reverend Alden Gladwell, local board of administration, and members of this gathering, we say thanks. Before we go, Sister Graham has a grandson who is visiting from the UK. And when he heard about this event, he needed to be here, and he would like to make a special presentation to Sister Graham. We know him as Charlie. He's the son of John Tinsley, and we invite him to come at this time. Sister Graham's godson, Charlie.
I on mountains, cross rivers, desert places I know.
Charlie saying that Sister Graham has been his role model for years, over 30 years, and he could not have missed this. The presentation of the assignments.
Heaven's angels are singing, come too far to look back. Look around, there's unhappiness. Some see no reason for living. Life will give you a broken
Ladies and gentlemen, it's in Loretta Graham's story, hosted here at the Bayroad West End Holiness Church. And to all we say, thank you.
Place your heart in Jesus' hand. He will